Boom, 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 boom. Hey, good morning. It's 5amMesterScrum. Scrum. Hope you're doing well. Um, it's a little later than normal. It's 7-Eleven. Ooh, 7-Eleven. Should go stop by the 7-Eleven today. Anyway, 7-Eleven. This 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. It is Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. I guess almost, I think the second week of the quarantine here, at least in this state. Though they think they're going to move it out longer. But we're here to talk about not necessarily always the quarantine and things going on, and I see a lot of posts up there. We talk about Scrum and Agile in a tactical and practical way, how you can use it in your business, learn it, do it, um, in your own personal life, things like that. Bring value to the customer, more value to the customer in a more rapid fashion, and so that you're not working 60 plus hours a week and you have time to spend with your family and friends and have some fun along the way. We don't want you stressing, because when you stress, you get sick, and then bingo, you're sick. It's kind of why I slept in a little bit. I was up too late last night. And you know what? In this time of day, if you're up too late, you need to make sure you get your right amount of sleep, because when you're not sleeping enough, your body doesn't get to build up the right immunities and stay healthy. So I slept in. So I'm all peppy now, except for the boy was really peppy. He jumps on me in the middle. Wake up, Dad! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! But it is what it is. So what are we going to talk about today? I spent a little bit of time reading some stuff on LinkedIn and Facebook and just catching up social media, whatever it is. All the coronavirus is all like very depressing kind of stuff. So I want to talk about two things today. I had a lot of people talk about interviews and scrum masters wanting new jobs and asking questions and share posts. And I'm going to do something soon that's going to be new. I'm going to do some mock interviews with scrum masters. Anybody's interested in doing some mock interviews and testing, message me out on LinkedIn. We'll do some mock interviews for scrum masters, questions, things like that. I might videotape some of it and share it with you all as some of the kind of questions and things to be prepared for, and offer that services to scrum masters as a mentoring part of coaching, right? Um, so I want to talk about what should a scrum master know, and I want to talk about that a little bit, because some people wonder, why do I need to know this stuff? And I'm going to explain why, a couple of little points. And then the other thing, I just want to talk about splitting stories. Someone had posted up the other day about Mike Cohen putting one of his old user story points and how to do it and things like that. And it was a nice article, but I want to take it one step further from the video and talk about splitting the user stories and how to go about doing that, because I notice a lot of people have very large user stories and they don't understand how to make things smaller, manageable, and reusable. So we'll talk about that. So those are two things. So first thing I'll talk about, Scrum Masters. I posted up a link the other day about doing the Test Automation University class. It's a free class. They have a whole sequence. I messaged out one of the people that I connected with on what ones to take for my particular company's type of software, because it didn't stick out too clearly. But it's a great class, and that was Test Automation. Now you might say, and there's DevOps stuff, and LinkedIn has a lot of stuff out there too that are free courses. If you're paying the $29 or whatever, $15 or whatever it is a month to get access and be able to communicate, they offer a lot of good free courses, and there's a lot of good free courses on the internet too. What am I asking you to do? Not really. I'm just giving you some advice. You need to know some of the lingo and the discussions going on with the dev team. I'm not saying that Scrum Masters need to learn how to code, need to learn how to test, do Selenium, but you can. But you don't have to be an expert in that. And I'm not looking, you don't need to be like, I've been coding 24 hours. Any person is coding 24 hours a day should be able to outcode me, right? But that's another story. I don't want to go there. But you should understand the terms and the speaking and the overall structure of, let's say, automated tests, and what goes into good structure for building that and what's not. Should understand DevOps, right? Should start understanding some of the new tech like containerization, which has been around for a while. I think I was talking about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, started the first groups of doing containerization and trying that out. And now it's like a norm, right? CI/CD, everything, all those kind of things. Not necessarily that Scrum Masters should know how to do it. They should know about it and understand what they're talking about. So when they're facilitating these meetings and stuff, they kind of have an idea, especially if you're doing it every day. If you're doing this every day and you still have no clue what they're talking about, they're going to, you need to learn, right? So why I'm sharing that from a mentoring perspective is that technical aspect of coaching, that in these technical areas, you should have a general understanding. So if you're trying to help facilitate, you have a better place from which to talk from. Not that you need to know from a technical perspective, don't necessarily need to have. I've worked in Defense Department, worked with planes, tanks, ships, um, schools, public schools, private schools, uh, finance, communications, healthcare, logistics. What am I doing now? Finance. This is about everything, right? So I've been everywhere. Insurance, all these different areas that I don't necessarily need to know how to do it. When I get there, I will learn up and pick up on the lingo and what they're doing. Some of the things I already knew from my past experiences owning my own business. So I kind of know those things. But you got to understand the general principles. So if you're going to work in the IT department, it's really important that you all, during this time, you got an extra hour and a half, and I've been talking about that, go out there, take a class, sign up for the Test Automation University. It costs you no money. Learn some new skills, learn some ideas about the market. If you are going to be a Scrum Master and this is where you want to go, I highly recommend that you go on to Test Automation, take some of the foundation class, go on, and it's only an hour long. Come on, how much you got to do? And then go on LinkedIn, take some of the introduction DevOps things, different capability containerization, AWS, take some AWS classes, all those things, so you have a general idea how this all works, and kind of ask the right questions, right? Part of it is asking some questions. So I wanted to share that with you. Like I said, I am going to thinking about doing some mock interviews. If anybody's interested in looking to go for a job, what does an Agile coach look for? How might do it? My interview questions are different from other people's interview questions. So I might ask you questions. We can help you get up to your best bet for doing interviews, or at least get a little better. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but sometimes it's nice to sit in a Zoom meeting or something like that with somebody else on the other side. I have no interest. I'm just here to help you, what I see, what I get, and we can talk about that and give you some practice. So message me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok if you want. We got some stuff on TikTok. I'm going to put some stuff on TikTok. I'm trying to do a TikTok. I'm learning how to do it, and we'll see how that goes. All right. So that's what I just want to add for Scrum Masters. Go out, learn some DevOps, learn some automated tests, learn some things in the field, learn some technical stuff. You get an extra hour and a half, an hour or whatever, or half hour a day for not commuting. Take advantage of it. That's my only recommendation. Well, I got lots of recommendations, but that's good enough for now, right? So the other thing I want to talk about, ooh, ooh, splitting stories, right? And I saw the video with Mike Cohn in there, and he was talking about how to do pointing and sizing and relative sizing of stories. And he did this. It was a nice little video, and it was nice to watch it because I like Mike Cohn's stuff. He's really good. I appreciate all the work he does. And he talked about this giant website where they had like 100 fields. I'm just going to draw this. So yeah, 100 fields. And he was talking about how to do relative sizing with that, right? But then maybe like, let's say this one here. This was a credit card field. And real simple. And it's how to process a credit card, right? And then there, depending what credit, what it was, a MasterCard, Visa, etc. And you had this CVC code, right? I think that's what it is. And it's like a 3-digit. But he made a good point. American Express had a 4-digit code, right? And how do you know which one to ask for, right? So what I thought was interesting. So let's say let's say this whole site with all this work, we had a code here. Maybe there was some automatic auto lookup on something. Okay. And maybe this is a 5-point story. Okay. Let's say we made this a 5-point story for this whole thing. 100 fields on a page. Had a couple things that were kind of fancy little code that had an automatic lookup for something. This one had a credit card processing. So this is a 5-point story. Now myself, how I break this up, I would break it up into 3 stories. How would I do that? Story 1 would be the whole thing with these basic fields. So maybe but another story might be this credit card. So maybe this whole credit card function, I would have broke that out and made that a 1 or 2-point story, probably a 1-point story or 2-point story. So this is a whole 5-point story, this whole thing. I would have taken this whole thing out and made that a separate story. Why would I make that a separate story? I would have made that a separate story because I can use that functionality elsewhere. So it's reusable code. 2, it has its own business functionality, right? So now the overall story becomes let's say this is a 3-point story now. This is like a 1-point story. And maybe this auto lookup, which I can use elsewhere too, I want to make that a 1-point story too. So what used to be a 5-point story, I now made it 3 stories, 1 3-point story to put all this stuff together, a 1-point story for the credit card, and a 1-point story for auto lookup, because I can do these independently. Remember invest? Whoops. Invest. INVEST. Right? So, or you can use small principles. But the idea is that this has business value with the credit card lookup and a process I can use on multiple sites. So I write my code separately. I don't need this to write this. I don't need this to write this, right? But this and this and this all have business value, right? What I want to do one little field, it's a lot of copy and paste and things. I wouldn't necessarily do that. Now there's time involved, but you can see how this is how you split the story up. Each one of these can be tested individually. Each one of them has their own separate business value, and they can be worked independently, and they're not dependent upon each other. So this one story, rather than have one person work this whole thing, I can have 1, 2, 3 people work this story at the same time and get the work done in a day. Where in the old school, one person would do this. They would maybe do this a day, this a day, and this a day. So it would take a 3-day activity to get done. Here, I get it all done in a day. So this is how you split stories. I just wanted to share that with you as an idea. Again, I had a 5-point story originally with 100 fields and a couple one credit card lookup, maybe an auto lookup for something else. Real simple example. There's more complicated stuff out there, and if your team's bigger, it's more complicated. But now I'm going to take it and make it a 3-point story, right? I'm going to make it a 1-point story here, and I'm going to make this a 1-point story here. So now this 5-point story becomes a 3-point story that encompasses all of it. A 1-point story for the credit card process because it has independent business value, and you can test it, and you can code it, and that's not dependent upon anything. Then you just take this code and drop it into there, right? It's not a big deal. You can do all this without that. Then you might change with the figure, but that's why it's a 3-point story. You have to make it sure it fits right and maybe do some customization. And then I can do this 1-point story and do an auto lookup, because that may have some reaches into an API or something like that, will cost some data to pull that data and post it based on whatever's on the screen. So that's how you break down a story. It's really simple. And sometimes a lot of teams I notice they'll leave it all together one big story. I'm like, no, break it up into smaller stories. Give it to separate people so they can all work it together. I mean, you can also do this task wise if you wanted to. I can take this 5-point story and just make it 3 different tasks that they can all be worked at the same time. It's another possibility too, right? In this case, I took a 5-point story, broke it into 3 stories, a 3-point story, a 1-point story, a 1-point story, and made it smaller pieces of story that have business value. Tasks don't necessarily have the business value. Stories, I can reuse the stories and have the business value. It's a little different thought process right there. So you could do it with a story, you could do it with a task, but I'm just showing you how you might break a story down like that. So that's a little techo geeky stuff. It's 15:30. It's at our little 15-minute daily Scrum time box, and I'm gonna let you go. You all have a great day. Enjoy your day. Hope everything's going well. Ring the little bell for connections. By the way, little Eddie over there, he's got 400,000 views on his little video on YouTube. So that's pretty cool, right? We'll see. Let's see if he hits 1 million. I don't know. It'll be interesting. It wasn't very long ago. I was saying like 180,000. Now he's got 400,000, right? Pretty amazing. With that, take care. Have a good day. Enjoy. Reach out to people. All right. Take care. Bye. See ya.